this is analyzing customer sales. I can also maximize this full screen, take advantage of some of the real estate. And if I look at this, I mouse over the chart, it says, okay, retail is taking up 65% of my sales. Okay, that's good. I can also notice, if I look on the right, we can see our sales broken down by region. So Central, West, Northeast, and East, they're all, for the month to date, period 8, we're actually doing better year over year in all regions. We can see kind of our total sales by our different customers down here. So Costco is up over prior year, Best Buy is slightly down, Sears is up, Walmart's down. So as a user, if I want to, okay, what makes up retail, I could go ahead and click on retail. It'll create a dynamic filter there. You can click off of that as well to remove the filter. And the filter, basically what it does, it filters down. You'll see the other elements in the chart. We can also switch this to, instead of looking at month to date, let's take a look at quarter to date. So now all the numbers will change to quarter to date. We're looking at year to date numbers. Maybe instead of period 8, I want to look at period 9. Okay, and if I mouse over one of these visuals, if you see a little arrow pop up, that means that there's been a hierarchy that's been part of the visual and allowing you to drill. So to turn on the drill, I can go ahead and click on the drop down. So click to turn on drill down. And now we can see, in this case again, we've got Central's worse off than prior year, so is Northeast. However, West and East are still better than prior year. So let's take a look into Central. So if we go ahead and drill into Central by just clicking on it, I can see Robert O'Neill is actually doing better than prior year, but Jason Lee is pretty far behind, almost 50% of his prior year. Let's drill into Jason Lee. Maybe I can see the different customers of Jason Lee. So obviously we've got some issues around Best Buy with his sales, as well as Target and so forth. So another thing we can do is we can drill down, we can drill back up. If you look at this visual here that we're in, there's also an option here to go into focus mode, which will kind of expand it full screen. So if you're going to be analyzing one specific visual, in this case, again, our sales by region, you'll notice there's also this little drill to the next level of all elements. So instead of just going into Central and seeing what makes up Central by the sales rep and then the customer, we can actually drill at all levels. So if I go ahead and do that, now we're drilling down, and you can see all sales reps across the different regions compared to them in one screen. So that kind of gives us, again, a quick synopsis of, you know, how each person's doing without having to drill in one at a time to each region. And if we drill in next level deeper as well, now it breaks it all the way down to the region, the sales rep, and the customer all in one shot. Okay, so again, I think Jason Lee is still one of the main contributors there. If I go ahead, I can just drill back up, go back to the report. Okay, so that's a quick option on how you drill. We will open this report up in edit mode in a few minutes and show you how you can completely change the visuals and change the hierarchy for drill and so forth. Going to the right here, if I click on the next tab, like product sales, in this case, now we're looking at maybe analyzing our sales by product instead of by customer or region or channel. So we've got our product group as a donut chart. Now you notice I mouse over this, there's the drill option. So another way to drill if you actually have a hierarchy is just right click on the visual and we can choose drill down. So if I want to see what makes up this TV and video, right, I can go ahead and drill down there, right click, I can drill back up. Okay, so you can just, if you're a right click person, go ahead and right click and you see what options you have available. We can also notice if we go over here to our heat map, we can kind of see the size of these. So, you know, television's obviously one of our biggest sales. We got 597,000 there, 343 for home theater systems. We right-click on this, and instead of choosing drill down, we can actually choose see data. So sometimes you might want to just see what is the real raw data that's sitting behind one of the visuals. So you can go open up and look at the raw data, and then we can go back to the report, and it'll return us back to where we were. The other thing you'll notice, this is we've got a scatter plot here. We've got our selected gross profit percent on one axis and our sales amount on the other. And we've got our breakdown by different product groups. Okay, so in this one, you want to be obviously highest gross profit percent, and furthest to the right is telling you you've got the most sales dollars at the highest margin, However, we do have some that have higher margins but less sales dollars. But you can also, again, just like we saw the data, we can also click on the ellipses in the corner and export the data. And that's going to do is take us and open up a CSV or Excel file with that data in it. So if you ever wanted to say, hey, I just want to get the data within this visual into an Excel format, it's just one click away. Okay. Moving on, you can also click on the next tab below, or you can also just use the navigation window if you're in full screen mode, next report page, and it'll take you right to the next page as well. So when we're clicking around on the different year-to-date, year, and period, those are what are called slicers, which are kind of like dynamic filters, or they drive some action. So in this case, these are not necessarily filtering the data, but driving the calculations, like period 9. So when we have year-to-date, when we do that, it's actually going to be the, click back off and click back on. It looks like our map didn't want to register. All right. So in this case, we also added some other slicers, which you might want to be able to dynamically filter data as well. So we're looking at this. If I mouse over each of these pie charts, we can see our product groups within each state. If we want to look at maybe just retail, we can click on the slicer for retail, and it'll filter down the data to just retail. If we want to look at just Northeast, we can click on Northeast. It'll narrow down to just the states that are applied to Northeast. Okay. So everything here you'll see when we edit is completely interchangeable, and you can set these up to whatever you like. This happens to be one of our sample reports that we will map over the sales data for customers that choose sales. Go to sales trends. In this case, again, maybe we want to look at our summary. So this is basically our period 9 year-to-date sales, or gross profit dollars, or percent. We also have these trends. So this is a year-to-date trend. So this is basically each month building on itself. One thing to note when we get into a lot of these calculations, as well as these timing, one of the things that we do is we set up based on your fiscal calendar in JD Edwards. So again, if you're not a January through December company, but you're a July through June or October through September, that's all part of our setup. So you get truly your fiscal periods that make sense. Or if you're 445, or if you have multiple calendars, we also support that as well. If I switch this to be month-to-date instead of year-to-date, you'll see now we're looking at each month, just the month itself, year over year. Quarter-to-date, you'll start seeing some trends where it's 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. Kind of see how those quarterly trends are going, and then the year-to-date. And just like before, knowing Jason Lee, let's take a look at Jason Lee. And you can kind of see this year's activity versus the prior year's and how it's trending over time. So that's kind of how you can do trend type reports. If I click on the key sales metrics, maybe this is where you want this to be your starting tab, or these are the elements you put onto your dashboard, which is every day or every month or whatever interval makes sense for you to have these be refreshed. You can see here, in this case we've got gross profit percent. We got month-to-date, quarter-to-date, and year-to-date, and then we have the dollars, and we're comparing here, let's say, year over year. So this would be our month this year, the same month last year, sales this month, this year, same month last year. And then based on, if I click on Central, for instance, it'll filter down. So Central's not doing so hot, but how are they doing in computing, right? Retail. So click on that. So basically, depending upon the filters that you select in your slicers will kind of drive what those summary KPIs are doing. So these are in essence just aggregating all data across all elements underlying. So it's basically like a total figure, total gross profit, total sales, total gross profit percent for whatever you filter on. That's another way to kind of get a quick synopsis of your high-level key metrics. We also can click here on our sales data. In this case, we're back to a kind of a pivot table. We've got different groupings on our rows by region, by customer, and our product groups as our columns. So this should be like a pivot table in Excel, and something that, some people, and this might be for some people, hey, I don't want to see all the charts. I really just want to kind of build out some more tabular type reports. table like or pivot tables, and that's kind of what you can do here. Okay. So let's go ahead and I'm going to minimize this. Now when we go in as a user, and you can define users, are they purely just a view user that can view what's already been out there for people but not really edit or change anything? They can just kind of click on the interactivity that's already built into a report or dashboard. But if you're an author or a user that has edit rights, if I click on Edit Report, it's going to open this up in an edit mode. So now, as a user, I have some different options. I'm going to go to my product sales. And you'll notice when I'm in edit mode, there's some new options that the flyout windows over here on the right. So there's a visualizations option. And the visualization allows me, if I want, for instance, looking at this heat map, it actually has that highlighted. But as a user, I can go in and say, well, I want that as a bar chart. Right, or actually maybe I want that as a pie chart, right, or an area map, or let's actually go back to a heat map. So you just clicking around the different visuals can change what makes sense for the type of analysis that you're doing on any given report. What determines the drill hierarchy is really whatever you drag into this. So here, that's why when we turn on drill and drill into televisions, it's going to break it down to the product, which was the next level in that hierarchy. Go ahead and change that. Before we do, I'm going to go ahead and just remove product. On the right, we have these fields. So this is an example of our sales model that has the different information that you need to analyze JD Edwards sales data. So if I open up sales, we've got costs, gross profit, month to date, quarter to date, year to date, all those calcs driven off of those time slicers above. Gross profit percent, quantity ordered, quantity shipped, sales amount, and so forth. So this would be where you get your really anything from your sales-related tables with those calculated measures that we provide. Maybe we want to analyze any type of item branch information. I can go here, the item branch. This will be showing us some of the different category codes like product group or subgroup or product line, segment, or purchase cat code, sales cat. As part of our setup process is we relabel all these, which we've kind of done for these samples down here, like product group with sales cat code 1. Product subgroup with sales cat code 2, and product with sales cat code 3, and we relabeled those as part of the setup. If I go up here to customer, first let's say that we wanted to go and find region. Now, if I want region, for instance, if I drag into the details here, you'll notice that dragging region in the details, it takes each of those groups, like product subgroup, and now I can see the different regions within that. So television is broken down by region, monitors broken down by region. If I drag that up below subgroup, and then now that's actually allowing me, when I drill down from televisions to the region, and then let's say from the region we'll go down to the customer. So I'll just bring customer right in below that. So now when we drill on this, we're going from televisions to the product subgroup to the region, from the region down to the customer. So that's just by just dragging whatever elements you want into that, will define what that drill hierarchy is. Okay. Another thing you can do is, let's say we want to take this tab and just duplicate a whole tab. You could do that as well. So if I wanted to say I want to take this and then duplicate this page. And in this case, let's say I don't even want this as a starting point, so I'm going to go ahead and just delete that table altogether. I want to keep the slicers because I'm going to use those. But as far as the visual itself, I want to start over. Let's go ahead and just click on, let's recreate that geo map as an example. So I'll click on the geo visualization, and I can maximize that the size that I want. If we go down here to our state and just drag state as our location, it acknowledges that as a geographic type field, and then you'll see we've got now the different states where we have activity. If we go down to our sales amount, so now if I scroll down to our sales amount, let's say year to date, and I'll drag that, and you can drop it right on the canvas there as well, if you want as well, and it'll say, okay, that should go right here to the size of the pies. Now if I mouse over this, it's giving me my total dollars. Okay. We can also go in and add, let's say, like make these pie charts by product group. So if I have product group and just drag that into the legend, it'll turn those circles into pies. Okay. Now we mouse over this, it's giving us our total sales dollar for each of those product groups within the state. Okay, we can still go over here and filter. So if we wanted to look at just, Jason Lee as an example, we can still look at just Jason Lee, but we can also do some other things here. You notice that when we have this selected, there's also this tooltips. So what else we drag into the tooltips will show when we mouse over some of the visuals. So we go down here, let's say we want to add our gross profit year to date. So if I grab our gross profit year to date, I'll just drag that down the tooltips. And maybe also our gross profit percent year to date. So now when we mouse over, you'll see in the flyout window, it's not just showing the sales amount, but also my gross profit dollars and percentage. So without having, to do different charts or different pages for that. The other thing you can do, so you can duplicate a page. You can also hit the plus and give you a brand new blank canvas to start from as well. So when you're starting from a blank canvas, again, we had some slicers. So if I go ahead and click on a slicer icon, we can go up to our calendar. That's where we went in and we said, okay, let's add a slicer on year. Okay, and then we can say let's just down to 2019. Let's bring in maybe again our product group. So I go down here to our product group, and I'm going to drag that onto the canvas. And actually, let me shrink up the size of that. Here's our product group. And if we look at our product group and look at our sales, the sales amount year to date. Okay. And instead of seeing that, let's look at that as a bar chart. So one of the things we want to do when we have a bar chart, let's say we want to sort that. So if I click on the ellipses, I can go ahead and sort that based on the amounts. But I also want to show the labels, right? So dragging elements in, you mouse over this to the fields, kind of gives you the different ways you can interact with the visualizations. But if we click here on the format, here's how we can go and then turn on some of the formatting options, like turn data labels on. Okay. We can also say I want these to be maybe showing up in thousands, and I want this to be 1 decimal place. So you could go ahead and do something like that. I can also copy this visual, just Control-C and Control-V. In this case, let's turn this into maybe a donut. And instead of seeing it by product group, let's go see this by channel. So I go up to our customer, and we can go down to our channel and drag channel into the canvas as well. And it probably did, it just made that another element. So I'm just drag it up above. This would be a drillable chart. We'll start at channel, and then we'll be able to drill down to the product group within the channel. Okay. Another thing we can do, let's say we want to do a trend, maybe an annual trend down below. So if we go to our calendar and we grab our year period, I'll just drag that into the canvas, and we'll make this a bar chart. And this time we want to see maybe our gross profit dollars and gross profit percent. So I'm going to make this down the bottom. I can go down and find my gross profit dollars. So if we go down here to our sales and grab our gross profit amount, okay, those will be our columns, and we'll grab our gross profit percent, drag that down as our line values. Okay. And just like before, we want to actually show data labels. We'll turn data labels on, and maybe we'll also want to do these auto and do 1% or 1 decimal place. Okay. So this is how you kind of can build some new reports from scratch. And then once you're done, you can go ahead and save this. Right, hitting save will save over the existing report, or you can do here and do a file save as, and go this would be our sales ad hoc report. Okay, and when I save this, it's now going to go ahead and save this back to my reports. Now, I didn't show you how we navigate to that. We'll do that next here. Because if I click on the left on this little navigation pane, that's where we had our dashboard, and all the reports that are supporting in the Power BI will be available here in the Reports tab. There's also the data sets if you want to build a new report from scratch. Okay. So again, we open that up by just clicking on the navigation pane on the left. The other thing we can do is, let's say we wanted to add one of these as a visual pin to the dashboard. So we can go here, pin the visual, okay, and it's going to pin this to an existing dashboard, or I can create a new dashboard I want to pin this to. So this is now, again, pin the visualization to visualization to the dashboard, and if we navigate back to our corporate dashboard, we'll go ahead and if I look down at the bottom here, here's our new visual, and I can drag that wherever we want. I can resize it. Okay, and if I click on that, it'll take me back to the report. Okay, so that's how you